Can we make this dining room table look nicer, look better? Yeah, we got it for about 200 bucks, but it had some splotchiness, it had some rings on there, and the finish was not terribly even. So that was our goal. So we decided we're gonna give it a try. We decided, okay, we're gonna take off the finish. What's the best way to take off the finish? Well, you can sand it or you can strip it. So we decided if we're going after the stain, that's gonna rule out stripper. So we're gonna go working on sanding. So what's the best sander? We went with the oscillating sander. Why was that? Because the oscillating sander is very forgiving when it comes to the grain. You don't have the sanding marks that you have on other traditional sanders. We don't know what sort of stain or sealant has been on here already, so just to be careful, we're going to use respirator. And we start off with 80 grit. We went with 80 grit because we did not know what sort of finish was on there. We thought, okay, we're going to take down this lacquer or urethane or varnish, shellac, whatever that is this finish. So we started with the 80 grit and went over the whole table. We found that we had a problem. When the 80 grit was going across the whole table, instead of just sanding it and vaporizing it, it would gum up the grit of the sandpaper. So we had to change the grit, the sanding pads, quite frequently. Once we're done with the whole table and all the varnish shellac finish is gone, then we upgrade to 120. Why do we upgrade to 120? Well, this is the level at which we start to address the stain that's in the pores or in the grain of the wood. Take it all the way down and found that we had to really work the, this is dangerous. You want to be really careful when you do this, but we would work the sander on the side to really take out those long streaks or those splotches that were in the grain of the table. And speaking of the table, we're not quite sure what kind of wood this is. If you have any guesses, drop them in the comments below. It's a very white, light wood like balsa, but it's heavier than balsa. And it doesn't allow you to press your fingernail into the wood like balsa would. So after we're done getting all the stain off, then we start to level out the table. That is addressing any bumps or ridges or the grain of the wood, make it all nice and flat. Then we go to 240, now it's getting really smooth. So by the time that we reach 400, it's getting a single level and you can't feel any bumpses. Any bumpses? You can't feel any bumps or any ridges or anything like that. Then we're getting to the finish coat. We bust out the 600 grit. This 600 grit is the grit that we use just before we start to apply our finish. Get the 600 there. Now we're ready to clean off all the dust. How do we do that? Sure, you can blow it off or you can brush it off with a broom, but the best way that I've found is to use a product called tack cloth. Tack cloth is, I don't know if it's really sticky, gummy, like as if it was dipped in honey, but it doesn't give any residue onto the table. You just wipe it off and it pulls off all the dust with the tack cloth. I'll have a link to all these products in the description below. So we wipe off the whole table, even the edges, with the tack cloth. Now we're ready to apply the stain. But no, not yet. I wanted to avoid the splotchiness. So how do you avoid the splotchiness of the table that it had previously? So I didn't want to reintroduce the problem that we had before. That's where wood conditioner comes in. Wood conditioner prepares the wood for the stain, so it allows it to absorb the stain at the same rate over the whole surface of the table, so you don't have the splotchiness or the freckles that we had previously. So once we apply the conditioner, we wipe it off completely, and that gets it ready. We had two stains, both were oil-based, and one was natural and one was Jacobin. We wanted something in between. Can you combine the two? Well, yes you can if they're both oil-based. So we mixed and matched and did some chemistry and landed on the right color. Here we go. We apply one coat of stain, brush it on there quickly, and then wipe it off quickly. But what if you wanted it darker? Well, if you want it darker, you could have applied two coats or just left that one coat on there longer. So we apply 1 coat of the oil-based stain and wipe it off. Then they recommend you wait 4 hours before applying any finish. Since we had the stain applied to the table, it came time to apply the urethane. Do you use oil-based urethane or water-based urethane? Well, I'm told you can use either with an oil-based stain. Personally, I don't trust it. I've never done it. And maybe an idea for an upcoming video. What do you think? So to be on the safe side, we applied the oil-based urethane after we applied the oil-based stain.
Hot news. Okay.
We let that urethane dry for 4 hours before coming back with the 600 grit and taking it down just to take off the bubbles, any brush marks, any dust particles that might have shown up on the finish of the table. Real quick, real quick. Then you go back with the tack cloth again. And you apply another coat of the oil-based urethane.
Oh, that's that neighbor.
So we found this coat went on much smoother, much more even flow, much less brush marks, dust particles, no bubbles. Another sanding with the 600 grit, another application of the tack cloth, and finally the 3rd coat of oil-based polyurethane. This coat went on smooth as glass. Boy, that matte finish and that stain, all that sanding and all the coating and preparation and finish work that we did, I think it really turned out nice. I think in our case, I think the answer is yes, we did improve the value and the look of the table. It really makes this room nice and warm, don't you think? If you have a Facebook Marketplace furniture score that you can share, drop them in the comments below. Oh, to see more home improvement videos like this one, be sure to click like and subscribe and click the image on your screen now. I'll see you in the next video.